Now is the time for Desert Oracle Radio, the voice of the desert.
Well, some of you asked for a little tour of the garden, so why not today? The desert willow smells very nice and looks very happy after a good soaking from the monsoon rains last night and the day before, and this morning and 2 days before that. The wash is all cleaned up of tire tracks, human tracks. Once I was walking at the edge of the national park out past Joshua Tree. After a storm like this, and I saw a gal out there on a bicycle, a mountain bike, who was in a celebratory mood because she said the trail was, quote, hero dirt, quote, like a hero in a story, I guess. I guess there are no previous tire tracks in the heroic epics. The Mormon tea is looking good. A silver cholla growing from the edge of it. This single Mormon tea plant is about 25, 26 feet around. And then we have the lesser brush, the black brush, the cheese brush, not much sagebrush. There are a few. The desert buckwheat. Now here's a Joshua tree coming up. It stands not much higher than my knee. It's a young thing. Sharing this space with another silver cholla. A young one, too, only about, 16, 18 inches high. Here we have grand old Mrs. Juniper. A lot of juniper berries. Hang on. Come here. Found something dead to eat. The dog, I mean, not me.
Desert Oracle Radio.
If a picture is worth 1,000 words, we stopped counting a long time ago. Call 1-800-272-5051 for your New Mexico vacation planner. 1-800-272-5051. This winter, come to the land of enchantment, New Mexico, USA.
Night has fallen on the desert. It's another week of monsoon season in the Southwest. We often miss the stormy times of late summer here in the Western Mojave, but not this time around. The broken up remnants of Hurricane whatever it was called. Let's say Hurricane Bellwether decided to grace the Joshua Tree Metropolitan Wilderness area with buckets of rain for several days and nights. Up in the mountains, there were mudslides and lots of lightning. Everywhere for a couple of 100 miles around, it was a dense layer of moody blue clouds, a shock after a long, dry season of unrelenting sun. When all we got was the distant and beautiful vision of the towering cumulonimbus far away, rising high above the Coachella and Imperial valleys. Due south of our mountains here, toward the Colorado Delta, the Sea of Cortez. Sometimes these clouds are so far away that they're dumping rain and hail and great bolts of lightning upon distant lands. Needles and Kingman, Mount Charleston and Death Valley. Sometimes all you see are the very tops of these immense giants, these great thunderheads. Cumulonimbus that are 60,000 and 70,000 feet high, 12 miles high, unleashing holy terror on the parched ground below. The parched ground hundreds of miles away. Finally, these cloud giants built up high above the Mojave High Desert. I haven't seen rain so heavy here in many years. It was quick, a few savage cloud bursts over the course of 2 days. 2 days of unsettled air, oppressive humidity, and finally the release, the great violence of nature. Now, we already had the false autumn of late August, and then this late monsoon of late September. So it's most likely we will soon be enjoying that particular desert seasonal sensation of wondering why it's 100 degrees again when they're selling pumpkins at the grocery store. That's called most of October. But the nights are longer and they are getting cooler each evening, arriving earlier, and suddenly we stand at the verge of the Autumn Equinox. Monday, September 22, 11:19 a.m. in the Pacific time zone. And the same for Arizona, as the Grand Canyon State stays on the same clock year-round. The Mountain Time Zone states reach the equinox at 12:19 p.m. during the lunch hour if you're at the office, at the factory, so get outside. It's good to mark the movement of the seasons, the arrival of the seasons. And it's good to be outside, not looking at a computer screen for a minute. Make a moment of it. Pour out some of your coffee for the equinox. This is episode 251 of Desert Oracle Radio, and I was hoping that might mean something special. Maybe I'd announce my retirement or my cancellation. That'd be good. It would be something to get paid $20 million a year, year after year, to do a TV show nobody watches. Strange economy. Imagine what somebody with ambitions could do with $20 million a year, year after year. And I do have ambitions. Anyway, here we are. Thanks for listening. Thanks to Red, Blue, Black, Silver for these soundtracks. I'd like to keep broadcasting till they put me in the ground. So it sure would be nice to get some capital flowing, some operating capital. Get the books printed, maybe fix the leaking roof here in the studio. Go down to Adobe Road and get a haircut from the barbershop by the Marine base. That's $20 right there. So, happy Autumn Equinox to you. Get outside if you can and salute the equinox. 11:19 a.m. Pacific and Arizona time. Monday, the 22nd of September, 2025. 12:19 p.m. Mountain Time. 1:19 Central, 2:19 Eastern, etc. And pour out a little libation for she who was freed from the underworld as Autumn Equinox arrives. Persephone. Now, if you manage to get a little bit of classical education, most likely on your own in these days when even the great old universities only teach human resources rubbish and resentment to people who can't read, you might have the idea that Persephone spends the autumn and winter in that dark realm. But remember that the Mediterranean climate is more like what we have in the Southwest and the high desert than the continental climate of Northern Europe. Meaning autumn and winter were crucial for growing crops. That's when the rains came, what's called second spring. Persephone's secret rites, the Eleusinian mysteries, took place each year in mid-autumn. That's a special little bit of history and myth. Especially for the dumb crybabies on Reddit to apparently whine and complain whenever this show talks about old history. I've got a spy who goes in there, sends me updates. I say, don't send me these updates. I don't want to hear this. I want to live a beautiful life where I don't even know Reddit exists. Summer is the time of drought when the green things wither and die, just like in our American deserts, our own arid lands. That's when she goes down below, just like our desert tortoises, who spend most of the summer in estivation, the desert summertime version of winter hibernation. They stay down in their cool, dark burrows until they smell that rare, sweet perfume of rainfall in the air, rain reaching the creosote. And then up they go out of their holes to lap up whatever water falls to the ground and then to enjoy the quick bounty of desert grasses and even little wildflowers that spring up in the wake of a good monsoon soaking. The eastern forests of America are famed for their fall colors, of course, but what about us out here in the arid West? The truth is that desert fall colors can be just as spectacular as anything in Vermont or New Hampshire or the Hudson Valley. Mostly from two trees. We have two trees of special interest in the fall colors department: Fremont's cottonwood and the quaking aspen. Both are poplars from the genus Populus. Our aspen is Populus tremula, the poplar that trembles. It's the most widely distributed tree in all of America, and you're most likely to see them in well-watered mountains and mountain valleys out here, like the dense aspen forest around June Lake and so many other alpine lakes. For a while, the tourist business described the June Lake Loop at 7,600 feet above sea level and a quick drive from the desert floor in Owens Valley as the Switzerland of California, which seems sort of goofy. I am fond enough of Switzerland and have spent some good times there over the decades, but I would not confuse it with the Eastern Sierra. The main difference being, of course, that Switzerland is uniformly green in the valleys, while in the western mountains, things dry up quickly once you're away from the snow zone. But you can go alpine skiing at June Lake and the now too expensive Mammoth Mountain, and all those ski resorts around Tahoe where the Bay Area people go because the US 50 and the interstate is kept clear in wintertime. No such luck getting across the Sierras south of Highway 50, not in snowy wintertime. That's why the people you meet in the Eastern Sierra have more ties to Los Angeles than to the Bay Area. Although there are commercial flights in and out of Bishop and Mammoth Airport a couple days a week, depending on the season. I am personally awaiting my personal robot air drone taxi to zip me back and forth from the Eastern Sierra down to the Mojave, maybe just halfway. I want to make everything disappear from roughly Barstow to south of Owens Dry Lake. That should be a 20-minute flight. The hectic part with too much traffic, semi-trucks, and lunatics trying to pass when there's no passing lane on a blind curve over a double yellow line. You'll find groves of quaking aspen, both large and small, throughout the Great Basin and most every length of mountain in the basin and range geology, where you can travel from hot sagebrush and sand to pinyon juniper forest to patches of aspen bursting with color, that rich green in late spring and through summertime, and then the delirious spread of rich reds and yellows. Colorado, of course, is famous for its aspens, and every fly fisher in the Mountain West knows the joy of standing still in the mottled shade of an aspen grove, casting your line, breathing that sweet fragrance of a snowmelt creek, all full of trout. If you're seeking some fall color of the sort I'm talking about, it's so much better to find a little grove somewhere out of the way, up a dirt road, a Forest Service road, a mountain trail, and just enjoy it by yourself or with your special someone, such as your dog. Or maybe go with a dear friend, a brother, a cousin, a current or future spouse, your parents if you're lucky to have them around. But that's really it. And again, only if they know how to behave, because if they don't, send them to the tourist spot full of cars and people talking into their phones and leaving garbage everywhere. The typical slob you see crowding every famous place, every tourist trap. Avoid that if you can. You'll be so much happier. Find your own little grove, bring a picnic or a sandwich from that tasty bakery in Bishop, set that bottle of wine in the cold, clear water for a little while. Lay back in the leaves and listen to the rustling of the trees above, the great splashes of rich color against the clean blue mountain sky. Fremont's Cottonwood is named for our pioneering botanist and explorer, John Charles Fremont. who first collected a sample of the tree for scientific study in 1845 on his third expedition to California. One day we're going to do a whole episode on John Fremont, who is mentioned one way or another in probably every third or fourth episode of this broadcast. As few people in American history had their hands in so much, or have so many places and things named for them. That was the last era of the all-around man, a time when the swashbuckling leader of the Bear Flag Republic could also be, at other times, a territorial governor in Arizona, a U.S. senator from California, and a rogue operator who was court-martialed for various serious crimes, and a famed biologist and overall scientist. And a frontiersman who earned the nickname the Pathfinder for the many famous routes he walked and rode upon, some of these with his longtime friend Kit Carson. The tree that bears Fremont's name is one of the great natural treasures of the Southwest. It grows along rivers and streams and really anywhere with some of that most precious resource in the West, fresh water. These trees can grow remarkably fast, 20 to 30 feet in a single year if the conditions are right, and for the cottonwood, the conditions are nearly always right. Which is why any good homestead with a water source in the West will have its own grove of cottonwoods. They are a pioneer species, which means they can thrive in the rough spots, like on old ranch land, wasteland to many eyes, but let the pioneer species have a go at it. Desert dandelion, prickly pear, four-winged saltbrush, cottonwoods. This is the stuff that comes up quick. Nature's engineers. Or I guess that's the beaver. That's nature's engineer. Cottonwoods are grown as boundary trees for shade, for beauty, for the birds and insects and other critters it attracts. Pretty much everything but for hardwood lumber. Although poplar wood is used in snowboards, guitar bodies, even ancient shields of war, due to its lightweight and strength. The cottonwood has a porousness, a fuzziness to the boards, and it rots quickly out in the open. But you'll still see it used as lumber all over the Southwest, especially on old farms, old homesteads. It does have this charming way of collapsing over time. Otherwise, cottonwood is used mostly for pulp, printing paper, boxes, baskets, that sort of thing. All things we need. Known for their rich green foliage that livens up every desert valley where they grow, cottonwoods explode into bright oranges and yellows when autumn comes. And because they pop up wherever there's a semi-regular water flow, being riparian trees, you don't have to go far to see them, even in the desert. Runoff from the highway is often enough to feed a cottonwood's needs, even in baked, scrubby wasteland. While typical Fremont's cottonwoods can grow to 80 or 90 feet, the tallest Fremont's cottonwood that we know of stands at a little over 102 feet at last measurement, and it's in Skull Valley, Arizona, over the pass and just west of Prescott, Arizona, tucked up near Prescott National Forest on Old Road North. is called Bob's Cottonwood, I believe because it's on Bob's property, and it's right there on the road, right next to his mailbox. And in Fish Lake National Forest in Colorado, there is a single aspen clone that covers 106 acres, 47,000 stems. An aspen forest that's all one tree. It's the biggest living thing in the world. From Amboy to Zizix and across the great Mojave Wilderness, this is Desert Oracle Radio, broadcasting from Joshua Tree. Heard Friday nights from 10 to 11 p.m. on our local station, KCDZ 107.7 FM in the high desert. And this program, which has no commercials beyond whatever weird old tourism public service announcements I dig up, is supported by listeners like you who go to desertoracle.com or patreon.com/Desert Oracle and send us some dollars. That's how the media landscape functions in these last days. The soundscapes by our own Red, Blue, Black, Silver, and you can visit him and see his whole recorded catalog at the Red, Blue, Black, Silver Bandcamp website. We'll be back next week. Thank you for listening. And good night from the voice of the desert.